this video, I'm going to walk you through the top 7 most powerful weapons and weapon systems hidden aboard a U.S. Expeditionary sea base, a ship most people have never heard of, but one that quietly carries some of the most flexible firepower the Navy puts to sea, starting with. Before we count anything down, you need to understand something that completely changes how you read this list. The Expeditionary Sea Base, the ESB, is not a battleship. It is not a destroyer bristling with missiles. It is not a carrier. If you walked up to one expecting a hull packed with massive guns, you would be confused at first. Because the ESB's real power is not bolted to the deck, it is hidden in what the ship can carry, launch, support, and unleash. Think of it less like a single weapon and more like a floating base that brings other weapons to the fight. It is a mobile launch pad, a refueling stop, a staging area, and a home for aircraft, boats, drones, and special operators, all parked in the middle of the ocean where no land base exists. So when we talk about the most powerful weapons on this ship, we are really talking about a mix of two things: the defensive systems that protect the ship itself, and the offensive power it carries and projects outward. Some of these are obvious. Some of them are easy to overlook. And the most powerful one of all is the thing people least expect. Let's count them down. And as we go, keep one idea in the back of your mind. On a ship like this, powerful does not always mean loud. Some of the deadliest tools aboard make no noise at all until the exact moment they are needed. The Navy did not build the ESB to look intimidating. It built it to be useful in ways an enemy cannot easily predict. And that unpredictability is its own kind of weapon. Number 7, the close-in defensive guns. We start with the most straightforward kind of weapon, the guns that defend the ship. An expeditionary sea base is large, valuable, and often operates in waters where small, fast threats can appear without much warning. To handle that, it carries defensive weapons designed to deal with close-range dangers like small boats and incoming threats. These are not the headline-grabbing systems. They are the practical, no-nonsense layer of protection that keeps the ship alive long enough to do everything else on this list. What makes them powerful is not raw size. It is the role they play. A sea base far from home cannot count on a friendly port or a wall of allied ships to protect it at every moment. So its own close-in defenses become the last line between the crew and a fast-moving threat skimming across the water. They are the reason the ship can operate forward with confidence. And while they sit lower on this list, do not mistake that for unimportant. Without that defensive layer, none of the more glamorous capabilities would even get the chance to matter. Number 6, the armed small boats it launches. Next, we drop down into the belly of the ship, where one of its most flexible weapons lives, its small boats. The ESB is built to launch and recover boats from the water, and those small craft are far more than simple transport. Armed and crewed properly, they become fast, aggressive tools for protecting the ship, intercepting threats, and projecting presence across a wide area of ocean. Think about what that means. A single large ship can only be in one place, but launch a handful of fast boats, and suddenly that ship's reach explodes outward. Those boats can investigate suspicious vessels, screen the waters around the sea base, and respond to trouble far faster than the mothership ever could. That is real power. Not because any single boat is overwhelming, but because of what they add up to. A mobile, flexible ring of force that extends the ship's influence far beyond its own hull. And because the ESB is designed around this kind of operation, it can sustain it. The boats can go out, come back, refuel, rearm, and go out again, all from a base sitting in the middle of the sea. Number 5, the mine hunting power. This one surprises people because it does not look like a weapon at all. But in the right situation, It is one of the most important capabilities the ESB brings. Naval mines are one of the oldest and nastiest threats at sea. They are cheap, hidden, and devastating. A single minefield can shut down a vital waterway and threaten every ship that tries to pass through it. The ESB was built with mine countermeasures in mind. It can serve as a base for the helicopters and systems used to hunt, detect, and clear sea mines, turning a deadly, invisible threat into a problem that can actually be solved. Why does that count as a powerful weapon? Because the ability to clear mines is the ability to open the ocean back up. It lets ships move. It keeps trade flowing. It denies an enemy one of the simplest, most effective tools they have. In other words, this capability does not just protect the sea base. It can unlock entire regions of water for everyone who needs to use them. That is a different kind of power. Quiet, technical, and enormously valuable. And here is the part that makes it especially dangerous to ignore. Mines do not need to actually sink anything to win. Just the threat of mines can freeze an entire waterway, because no captain wants to gamble their ship and crew on a guess. By being able to hunt and clear those mines, the sea base takes away that paralysis. It restores the ability to move, and at sea, movement is everything. A force that can move freely while its enemy is stuck is a force that has already won half the fight. Number 4, the drones and unmanned systems. Now we get into the modern edge of warfare, and this is where the ESB really starts to flex. The ship is a natural home for unmanned systems, aerial drones, surface drones, and other robotic platforms that extend its eyes and reach without putting a person directly in harm's way. Think about how that changes the math. A drone can scout far ahead of the ship. It can watch a wide stretch of ocean for hours. It can track suspicious vessels, gather information, and feed it back to the crew so decisions get made with real knowledge instead of guesswork. That is power in the most modern sense. Not just the ability to strike, but the ability to see. In naval warfare, the side that knows where everything is holds a massive advantage, and unmanned systems multiply that awareness dramatically. And the ESB, with its huge open deck space and flexible design, is almost perfectly suited to operate them. It can launch them, recover them, refuel them, and send them back out, acting as a floating airfield for machines that keep getting smarter and more capable every year. This is the direction warfare is heading, and the sea base is built to ride that wave. There is something almost unfair about it too. Unmanned systems let a single ship watch and influence a stretch of ocean far larger than its own size would ever suggest. They can stay out longer than a tired crew, push into places too risky for people, and keep doing it around the clock. When you combine cheap, patient machines with a flexible floating base to launch them from, you get a level of constant awareness that used to require an entire fleet. That is a quiet revolution, and the ESB sits right at the center of it. Number 3, the helicopters it carries. Now we reach one of the most visible and genuinely powerful weapons on the ship, its aircraft. The Expeditionary sea base has a large flight deck and hangar space designed to support helicopters. And helicopters change everything about what a ship can do. With aircraft aboard, the ESB can reach out and touch targets, areas, and missions hundreds of times faster than any boat. Helicopters can hunt threats, move troops, support special operations, carry out search and rescue, deliver supplies, and project force far beyond the horizon. That reach is the whole point. A ship without aircraft is limited to what floats. A ship with aircraft suddenly controls the air around it and a huge slice of the sea beneath that air. And because the ESB is built to refuel, rearm, and maintain these aircraft, it can keep them flying. That endurance turns a few helicopters into a sustained capability, a constant presence in the sky that an enemy has to respect and account for. This is why the flight deck is such a big deal. It is not just parking space. It is the launch point for some of the most flexible firepower the ship has. And consider what that flight deck means for an enemy trying to plan against this ship. They cannot simply track where the threat is, because the threat moves. Aircraft launched from the sea base can appear over a horizon that the enemy thought was safe, strike, and return to a base that itself can be hundreds of miles from where it was the day before. That combination of reach and unpredictability is exactly what makes air power so feared, and the ESB carries it to places a traditional airfield could never reach. Number 2, the Special Operations Forces aboard. Here is a weapon that does not look like a weapon in any traditional sense, because it is human. The Expeditionary Sea Base is built to support special operations. That means it can serve as a launch point for some of the most capable operators in the world, the kind of teams that conduct precision missions most people never hear about. Why rank this so high? Because Special Operations Forces are arguably the most flexible, most precise tool any military has. They can do things no missile or aircraft can. They can go where bombs cannot. They can solve problems with surgical accuracy instead of brute force. And the ESB gives them something incredibly valuable: a base in the middle of nowhere. From this floating platform, these teams can stage, plan, rest, rearm, and launch, all without needing a friendly country to host them on land. That is a quiet kind of power that is hard to overstate. It means the United States can place an elite capability almost anywhere there is open water, far from prying eyes, ready to act. The ship itself never has to fire a shot for this to be one of the most dangerous capabilities it carries. There is also the matter of secrecy. Land bases are watched, airfields are mapped, ports are full of eyes, but a sea base sitting in open water, far from any coastline, is a much harder thing to monitor. That means the teams aboard can prepare and launch with a level of privacy that is almost impossible to achieve on land. For special operations, where surprise is half the weapon, that hidden launch point is worth more than any single piece of equipment. It is the difference between an enemy seeing you coming and an enemy never knowing you were there at all. Number 1, the ship itself as a floating base. And now, the big one. The most powerful weapon on an expeditionary sea base is the sea base itself. That might sound like a trick answer, but stay with me, because it is the most important point in this entire list. Every single thing we have talked about, the guns, the boats, the mine hunting, the drones, the helicopters, the special operators, only works because the ship exists to carry, launch, support, and sustain them. Strip away the ship, and every other capability loses its home. The ESB turns the open ocean into a base. It lets the military operate in regions where there is no friendly port, no runway, and no safe ground to stand on. It removes the need to ask another country for permission to set up shop. It plants a flexible, mobile, self-sustaining platform exactly where it is needed and keeps it there. That is power on a strategic level, not just a tactical one. A missile can hit a target. A sea base can change what is possible across an entire region. It can support operations for weeks, adapt to different missions, and serve as the beating heart of everything happening around it. That is why the ship itself is number 1. Not because of what is bolted to its deck, but because of what its very existence makes possible. There is one more layer to this that is easy to miss. A sea base does not just carry weapons, it removes a weakness. Traditionally, projecting force far from home meant depending on another country to lend you a port or a runway, and that dependence is itself a vulnerability. Permission can be denied. Politics can shift. Access can vanish at the worst possible moment. The ESB quietly erases that problem. By bringing its own base with it, the Navy frees itself from needing anyone's approval to operate. That independence is a strategic weapon in its own right, and it never shows up in a list of guns or missiles. Before we wrap up, there is one capability that deserves a special mention, even though it is not a weapon you can point at anything. That capability is endurance, the simple, brutal ability to stay on station for a long time. Most dramatic military moments are short: a strike, a raid, a burst of action. But real influence at sea comes from staying, from being there day after day, week after week, ready to respond the instant something happens. A ship that shows up, makes a splash, and leaves does not control anything. A ship that stays does. The Expeditionary Sea Base is built for exactly that. It can hold a position, sustain the aircraft and boats and teams aboard it, and remain a constant presence in a region that matters. That endurance turns every other weapon on this list from a one-time event into an ongoing capability. The guns stay ready, the boats keep patrolling, the helicopters keep flying, the operators stay poised to launch. That is why endurance belongs in this conversation. It is the invisible force multiplier behind everything else, the quiet reason a sea base can do so much for so long without ever needing to come home. If you look at an expeditionary sea base from the outside, you might be unimpressed. It does not look fearsome. It does not bristle with obvious firepower. It looks more like a giant industrial ship than a warrior. And that is exactly the point. The ESB's power is hidden, modular, and flexible. Its strength is not in looking dangerous. It is in being useful in a dozen different ways, depending on what the mission needs that day. That flexibility is why this ship is so valuable. One day it might be a mine-clearing base. The next, it might support special operations. The day after that, it might launch helicopters or coordinate drones. It bends to fit the situation instead of being locked into a single role. Most weapons do one thing well. The sea base does many things well, and that adaptability is its real edge. There is a deeper reason this matters. An enemy can study a single-purpose weapon and build a counter to it. If a ship is only good at one thing, you only have to defeat that one thing. But how do you plan against a platform that can reshape itself for a completely different mission overnight? The uncertainty alone forces an opponent to prepare for everything at once, and that is exhausting, expensive, and nearly impossible to do well. In that sense, the ESB does not just carry weapons. It carries doubt, and doubt is one of the most powerful things you can put into an enemy's head. We spend a lot of time talking about flashy weapons, the missiles, the jets, the explosions. But the truth is that modern power often comes from platforms like this one: quiet, flexible, and easy to overlook. The Expeditionary Sea Base proves that the most powerful weapon is not always the loudest. Sometimes it is the platform that makes every other weapon possible. Sometimes it is the ability to be anywhere, support anything, and adapt to whatever comes next. So the next time you hear about a U.S. Expeditionary Sea Base, do not picture a boring gray ship floating in the distance. Picture a hidden arsenal of capability: guns, boats, drones, helicopters, mine hunters, and elite operators, all riding on a platform whose greatest weapon is its own quiet, flexible presence in waters where nobody else can set up shop. That is what makes this ship one of the most underrated and quietly formidable pieces of power the United States Navy has ever put to sea.